y'all, I'm Gina Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. In this video, I'm going to share some of my tips on how I get my bezel seams nice and straight in preparation for fusing. So I'm bringing to you the eternal struggle. How do we get our bezel together nicely so that we can fuse it? I think we've got a pretty good looking bezel here. I'll hold it for a moment so she can do a close-up, like so. I've discussed this many times in my videos, but most of the time the problem that people have getting their seam together is that they're filing it and you think you're fixing it when you file it and you're actually making it worse. Because if you hold something straight up against your bench and you file straight across, like so, that helps to keep your file nice and straight. If you're just filing on your bench pin or up in the air, what you don't realize is, like, let's say this is your bezel, you know, you're doing this. I mean, I'm exaggerating the movement. Right. So unless you have perfect hand control, spoiler alert, no one has fucking perfect hand control, you're gonna end up with that thing where they meet in the middle and the ends don't touch, and then you're like, oh no, I better file it to fix it. And then you're in like the vicious cycle of causing the problem and then going, you know, and then like it's the fuckity fuck, why won't this come together, etc., etc. So for thinner bezels, like with this is 26 gauge, which is what we use normally, I normally just cut them with my Joyce Chen, and if it's a little slanty shanty, you know, I pause and trim again a little bit. And again, I've covered this a million times, but the whole key to cutting straight is your posture. So however normally contorted you sit, when you're gonna cut, you know, you like, you know what I'm saying? Feet on the floor. You know, I don't need to cut this because I think this is good right now, but I'm just going over, these are the little reminders of like how to get them together. Another thing is too, when you look down at your seam, when you look down at it like this, everything looks great, right? You hold it up to the light and suddenly you're like, oh, there's a whole new thing happening. So always take it, hold it up to a light source and look through from the inside. And that's how you'll really see, you know, what's actually cooking in there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to meet pretty well. Soldering, you have a little more latitude, you know, because you're adding metal. Fusing, you don't have as much because you're, you know, if they're not touching, when it melts, they're just gonna melt apart. They're not gonna melt together. I think this looks perfectly acceptable for our purposes.